Let's talk about the interaction in sales and what happens and why I think it's more of a science than an art. You have to look and see what is the sales cycle. The sales cycle is somebody on one side of the table talking to somebody on another side of the table. This person's selling something, this person's buying something. This person is trying to show them the value of what they're selling. They have to pick their price to be appropriate for the value of what they're selling. Price is never an issue. The only time price is an issue is if there's no value perceived. If this guy doesn't perceive a value, he's going to wonder, why is that price? How'd you come up with that price? If you sell a piece of property in a town and you go, this is a really great town, then the value of the property goes up. We were just comparing on a call some of our clients in different parts of the country, and some of the people in some cozy little towns in Colorado are paying more for a 2,400 square foot space than people in a major city are paying for a 6,000 square foot space. Why is that? Because of perceived value. Oh, it's Colorado, it's cool state. It is a very pretty state, I gotta tell you. At least the western part of the state when you drive through it, very pretty state. So they charge enormous amounts of money for rentals of properties. That's all perceived value, and that's the way the marketplace works. I have something over here that's valuable, you have something I want, I'm gonna exchange for it. How much do I exchange for it? First, we're exchanging little green pieces of paper that we all agree are valuable. That's really what we're exchanging. Everything is a perception, nothing is real. Objections are not real. Most objections are not real. So when this person is trying to sell to this person has his guard up because everybody has been taken advantage of in a sales cycle. Everybody. There's nobody on earth that hasn't been. People have their guard up. I think people would rather die than be taken advantage of. That's what I really believe. So when you start to sell them something, the guard goes up. And there's a lot of books written on this. Les Dain, Surefire Sales Techniques, if you can get that book. It's out of print. But he talks all about people building this brick wall around themselves. He calls it the brick overcoat. And they hide inside this overcoat. And the bricks are all made of excuses. All objections as to why they shouldn't buy it. And they come out armored to buy something with all the objections on them to prevent them from buying it. It doesn't make sense. Basically what happens is you start to sell something and people are going to challenge you on it. So it's all in how people perceive the value. Let me give you a couple of tips. When people perceive, they're perceiving that in their brain. That's where they're interpreting the information. There are different parts of your brain. There's the cortex of your brain, which is where higher thinking takes place and analysis takes place. But interestingly enough, the part of the brain that does analysis is not the part of the brain that makes decisions. Most people don't realize that. Now we're getting into the science. The part of your brain that makes decisions is the old brain or the primal brain. It's not the neocortex, which means new cortex. It's the old part of the brain, the basic part of the brain. It's where your hippocampus is and where your emotions are processed. It's where fight or flight occurs when people get into that state of fight or flight, which is exactly where they go when they're in a sales cycle because they're putting up the defenses. They're getting ready to fight. So you have to get people emotionally engaged into your cycle. And I don't mean making them feel bad and yelling at them or having them cry. Just why would you want to buy this service that we have? This is what it could do for you. What would that do to your life? You talk about things that will get these people emotionally engaged. If you talk to them about that, now they're in a position where they can actually make a decision. So the trick is you want to keep them out of the cortex and out of analysis, because when people are in that mode, what they have to do, they have to think about it. And if you translate when somebody says, I think I got to think about it, that means I will never see you again. The answer is no, I just don't have the guts to confront myself and say that. So I'm going to say, let me think about it. Because I'm going to get a vision from God or somebody later that's going to tell me whether to do this or not. Let me pray on it. I'm all about prayer, but I think prayer is what directs you into the office, not to make the decision about it. Can people get ripped off by a doctor? Absolutely they can. But you have to live your life very cleanly and very honestly, because it's the communication you're going to do in a sales cycle is not verbal. Here's why it's not verbal. When you use words, when the salesperson is using words, that person has to process it with the temporal lobes. That's not where your emotions are. So you're putting them in the wrong part of the brain. If they say the words, then that puts them in the right part of the brain because they're emotionally communicating. So you want to have them talking more than you. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. If you get them talking about themselves and why this would be important for them to get this product, now they're in the right part of the brain and they can actually make a decision. Hopefully I gave you information today that's going to help you do more, sell your services better. If not, we have lots of programs, and we help lots of practices all over the country to do this all the time and get them to double their income in a very short period of time. We'd love to be able to do that for you.